Welcome to the second video in my Renaissance Warfare series. In this video I'll explain how I assembled and painted this Landsknechts army for 1 hour war games. The rules detail 4 troop types for the pike and shot era. These are infantry, which are a mixture of pike and shot. These form the backbone of your army. You can have up to 4 units of them. Then reiters, which are mounted missile troops essentially. You can have up to 2 units of those. Swordsmen, which are fairly self-explanatory, you can have 2 units of them. And cavalry, which are the sort of hard-hitting cavalry, and you can have 2 units of them. And then out of that pool of 10 units, you'll roll on the troop table to see which 6 units you'll get to use in the scenario you're playing. It took me quite a bit of time to work out what I was going to do for the infantry units, because I decided to use an 80mm by 60mm unit base that didn't give me really space to include both guns and pikes on that one base. In the end, as you can see from this infantry unit at the front here, I settled on a main base of pike with a couple of command figures at the front and 2 wings of arquebuses. I put 6 pikemen and 3 command figures on the pike base. I was hoping to fit 8 pike and 3 command, but there really wasn't room. But the 6 pike still gives me the look I was going for. I decided against having any sort of presented pikes. All my pikes are upright because it saves space. Let me just let me get this chap out. Here we go. So there we go. Standard bearer, drummer, officer, and then 6 pikemen. That's the sort of commander's eye view from the back. There we go. So that worked pretty well. And then I put this to one side. Then the arquebusiers, if I put them together, they form another unit base at 80 by 60, but they make wings for the pikes. I'm going to use this configuration for every infantry unit in the game. Not all armies have pike and shot units, but those that do will all be essentially just like this. Now this makes infantry units double the frontage of every other unit in the game. This isn't a problem since you can only be attacked from the front by 1 other unit, so units coming in to engage the infantry don't have to worry about the extra width. There's no overlap or anything counting against them, and infantry units themselves can't enter melee or can't initiate melee themselves until they finish shooting. They have to shoot until they run out of ammunition. There's a running out of ammunition dice roll, and then and only then can they actually resort to being melee units. So when the ammunition runs out, I can just remove the arquebusiers, and then with my newly degunned pike block, it can of course match up perfectly with any other unit it chooses to engage. Even if that unit's in a line, it won't overlap into other units. For instance, let's have it attacking these. There we go. There we are. Just like that. So that worked fine. It means I don't need to have counters to show when a unit's out of ammunition, and I'm pretty happy with this as a solution. All the infantry figures in this front batch here are from Artisan. They're all metal, And I went with Artisan because they do a rather nice pike deal. I needed 24 pike and they do 24 pike figures with a set of command and with metal pikes for at the moment £23. So that was really good value, and so I went with those. I ordered extra command so I could have more on all 4 bases, but my pikemen were taken care of in one purchase. When it came to painting them, I had that perennial problem of what you do with multicoloured, vari-coloured units. So what I did was I painted them in 2 batches of 18, and within that 18 I had 3 lots of 6 miniatures that all shared a colour scheme. So for instance, in the first batch of 18 I might have had 6 miniatures that were in red and white, like this chap on the right, 6 that were blue and white, and 6 that were black and white. And then in the next lot I'd have had the, excuse me while I turn them round, in the middle there we've got a, what have we got? We've got a yellow and blue, we've got a red and yellow, and in the middle we've got a, oh, who knows, red and green. And then when I assembled all 4 pike blocks, I had 1 miniature from each paint scheme on each block, and they all look totally random. So that basically let me batch paint and keep the speed up, and it took a couple of weeks to do all the pike, and the pike were the biggest part of this project. For the arquebusiers, they happily come in packs of 8, so and I needed 32, so I did those in 2 lots of 16, and within the 16 I did, I think, a total of 4 colour schemes. It might have been 8. So, and once again, when I'd finished, I had 1 of each colour scheme on each base. So we've got here those ones, and they should mirror the colours here. I might have done 8 colour schemes. Looks like I did 8 colour schemes. Fair enough. So same process though, same principle. Let me batch paint and yet keep the appearance of randomness. The units were then finished off with flags from First Corps, which I found very cheap and very, I think about £1 each, these flags, but very nice. And the flagpole is a steel javelin from North Star. So North Star pikes, North Star javelins, and artisan miniatures from North Star. That kept the postage down, having everything from one place. Alright, so once that was all done, next thing I moved on to was the swordsman. Now, swordsman, I'll just bash my pikes there. Again, artisan miniatures. There's only 12 swordsmen, there's 2 units of these, so I did them all in one go, and I randomized the colours even more. So for instance, you can see this guy nearest the camera, he's got his puffy sleeves split into 2 colours, and this guy at the back here's got red and blue and so on, whereas and he's got blue, red and white, excuse me, whereas everyone in the pike block only had 1 colour on their sleeves. I didn't bother, let me see, let's pick this lot up again. So I didn't bother delineating. So for instance, the chap in the middle in the blue and white, his sleeves are all blue or all white. he hasn't got sort of white and blue stripes on each arm. But because there's only 12 of the swordsmen, they got a bit more of a special treatment. So there we go, two-handed swords, because that's very Landsknechts. Once they were done, that was the infantry finished. Then I moved on to the cavalry. I started with the reiters, who are supposed to be pistol-armed mounted troops, but I wanted crossbows because, well, I just wanted crossbows in my Landsknechts army. So I went to Casting Room Miniatures, which is an offshoot of Foundry, and I went for these guys. Now these are, I think these are £9 for 3. This is one pack. They're not the world's greatest sculpts, but they're perfectly usable. And you get 3 mounted. These are different sets, as you can see. I think they do about 4 different mounted crossbow sets. So so those are my reiters. Again, random colours, but I painted all 6 at once. And then the final troop choice for this army was cavalry, and obviously I went for gendarmes. These are also from Casting Room Miniatures. They're nice and chunky. Lots of opportunity to do, again, bright colours. Flags again from First Corps, and I drilled the centre guy's hand out here. He was a commander, and gave him another wire javelin. So that's 3 of those, and then another set, same again, flags from First Corps, and 3 of those. So that's my 2 cavalries, and that basically is a finished army. Now you'll have noticed that I haven't covered all the miniatures. Although that's a finished standard army according to the rules, and initially my plan was for the Landsknechts to be a standard army, other armies that I'm going to do have different troop types in them from different periods. I actually decided that I did want some Landsknechts artillery. There's some very good reason why artillery isn't included in the pike and shot period in the rules, which is explained in the rule book. But nonetheless, I decided I wanted Landsknechts guns. So I went off to Foundry, and I got 2 of their gun crews and guns. There's a great cannon, and a slightly less great cannon. Now, all metal again. In the troop roll, artillery and reiters are in the same column, so this gives the Landsknechts player the option of, when he rolls for any reiters, he can take them either as reiters or as artillery, as he sees, as he decides, depending on the scenario he's playing. So so that worked out very nicely. I also decided I wanted some commanders. Every army in this project is going to have commanders. Back at Foundry, I got quite a nice chap on a horse with a herald, and he came in a pack of 3, so the other single guy becomes a sub commander. Now, at the moment, they're just going to sit on the battlefield and look pretty. I may include some command rules. I included added command rules rather, in my Crimea project, and they worked out really well, and they added to the game, so I might do that as well. But for the moment, until we played the game as written, they're just going to sit there and be decorative. Finally, I decided I wanted some army specific scenery for each army. Now in the very background here you can see my Italian tower from Ian Weekly. That's well and good, but I decided I wanted some nice colourful tents. So again, designed by Ian Weekly, I bought these new big heavy resin versions of what were once quite light foam tents. So I've got one big one, and use this one because he's at the end, and for the little ones, these are molds of these getting quite ropey now. I think but they're they do the job. I think they're very nice. So they'll give me a sort of Landsknechts camp, and if there's a village on the scenario map we're using, I might substitute the tents instead of the village. Okay, and that's it for the Landsknechts army. I'm very pleased with it. It's very colourful. I think it looks good. Looking forward to playing it. The next army won't be ready for a couple of months. Here's a sneak peek at the upcoming Aztecs, the ones I've done already. These are 3 war bands of novice warriors. As you can see, bigger bases, 12 miniatures to a base. I'll go into the whys and wherefores for that in the next video. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for watching this far. Please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.